Hey guys, it's Miss Tortoise again. I wanted to give a quick tutorial on how we found the volume of those aquariums. Remember, in class this week we have our SeaWorld Orlando Aquarium data. We have the law that states how big the tank needs to be at SeaWorld. And then we also have the dimensions of the current pool that's at SeaWorld. There's the rectangular prism and the cylinder. And our assignment is we need to decide if this is enough space for the whales. So the first thing we need to do is determine how big those original current pools are. So what we're going to do is we needed to find the volume of a rectangular prism and the volume of a cylinder. We looked in our notebooks, we looked online, and we looked in our agenda books for those formulas. We found the formulas and then we used the information from the problem to substitute in the numbers for us so we could then do the math. Okay, and I just used a calculator to do those calculations and got the total amount. This is the total amount for the rectangular prism. This is the total amount for the cylinder. That's how much room the whales have to swim in. The only problem is that these two shapes were attached to each other. So the next thing I needed to do was to add them together. And when I add them together, I get the total volume for the original tank. Now that I've done my math, it comes to the part where I have to start explaining. As a class, we decided on these 5 things that must be in each of our writings to be able to explain the math. We're going to start by giving the answer. For this task, I decided through my math that the original tank is this size. So that's all we have to do is to write the original tank has a volume of 106,331 cubic meters. There is my answer. I now need to tell about the math. I found my answer by. So go ahead and fill in how you found your answer. This is going to be a little bit more detailed than just I found my answer by using the formulas for volume. You're going to want to explain where you got your numbers from and the dimensions from. So we're really working on explaining this part. This is the telling us about the math. So from here all the way down, that is all my statement about telling about the math. The next thing I need to do is explain my tools. Usually it's ratio tables or graphs or anything like that, but my tools that I used this time were just formulas and a calculator, so I'm going to go ahead and add that in. Now comes the part that I can add in some extra information. And when I look over my work, I can see that there's a section that's missing. So this is what I need to add in. And I have to think back to what did I do here and why did I do it? And by looking at my math work, I remember, oh, that's right, that's the size of the rectangular, that's the size of the cylinder. I had to add them together. So now that becomes part of my writing too. My last step that I need to do is to restate the answer. So my answer is in green, so it's just going to have something very similar, and it's going to say, so the original tank has a volume of the same number. And that's how you can change all of your math work into written form. But something tells me I'm not quite done with my writing yet. Let me go back to the rubric. On the rubric, in order to get full credit, I have to have the math used, okay, well I have that, and prove whether or not the 2 tanks meet regulations. Well, I didn't go anything or talk anything about the regulations, so what I need to do is I look back to the original tanks, what the law says, because these are the regulations, and I now have to write a statement of whether or not this volume and this volume match up. The tank that's existing, that the animals are living in now, is this bigger or smaller than the minimum volume that's required? That is the part that the rubric is asking me for.